All right, today we're starting section 5.4. We are going to multiply binomials. Just a refresher, what does it mean to be a binomial? It has two terms, so a polynomial with two terms. All right, our warm-up starts out with multiplying with monomials. If I take 4x times x, that's what those parentheses mean for me here. What do I get, Keon? 4x squared, good. Remember, when we multiply the same base, we add those exponents. They both have a 1. 1 and 1 makes 2. On number 2, we are multiplying 6 times 7c. Need a new volunteer. Natalie? 42c. I agree with that. We just multiply the 6 times the 7. The c does not have any other c's to multiply with, so it just stays a c. All right, on number 3, it's a little bit different. What are we going to have to do on 3? Distribute. So that 2k is distributed to both the 3k and the 5. 2k times 3k. 6k squared. Or if they both have a k, it becomes 6k squared. What sign should go in the middle? A plus. They're both positive, so none of the signs are changing. 2k times 5. 10k. Don't drop off that k. Now, can I combine these? No, why not? They have the same variable. What's different about them? The exponents. Remember, the variable and the exponent both have to match to combine. All right, moving on to 4 and 5. This is a little bit more like that worksheet that you did after your quiz yesterday. In order to simplify these, what do we have to do? Combine like terms. So which terms can be combined? Good. Those x's in the middle. Remember to keep or use the sign of the number in front of that variable. So that 12 is positive, the 35 is negative. What do I get when I combine 12x and negative 35x? A what? Negative 23x. But what else do I still have as part of my answer? The 2x squared out in front and a minus 15 in the back. So anything that didn't get combined stays. All right, on number 5, what are we going to do? Combine like terms again. This time what gets combined? The a terms. I heard somebody say 80 and 6. They are both negative. So negative 80 minus 6. What would that give me? Negative 86. If they're both negative, we combine them and keep them negative. So negative 86a. What's still out in front? The 24a squared. And in the back, plus 20. Now notice when I combine like terms, does my exponent on that middle term change? Did my exponent on the middle term change when I combined like terms? No, don't change your exponent when you combine like terms. The only time your exponents change is when you multiply or divide. We were not multiplying or dividing. We do not change those exponents. All right. Our notes for today are pretty short and sweet. Some of you are already filling them in. To write the product ax plus b times cx plus d as a trinomial. Let's pause for a second. What's a trinomial? 3 terms. In order to do that, we are going to double distribute. Double distribute. What that means is that we multiply the first term of the first binomial by the whole second binomial. So if I'm going to use this ax plus b that they put up here, what's the first term of the first binomial? Keon? Ax. So I'm going to take ax, and it says I'm going to multiply it by the second binomial. What's the second binomial? From what they gave me up here, what's the second binomial here? Cx plus d. So a binomial means 2 terms. So I would take ax and multiply it to cx plus d. Then it says I would also multiply the second term of the first binomial. What's the second term of the first binomial? B. And multiply that by the second binomial. So what is the second binomial? One person said it softly. The cx plus d. That same one that we used up here. It still says the second binomial. Same thing both times in the back. So that's why they say it's double distributing. I would distribute the ax into cx plus d. I would also distribute b into the cx plus d. And then at the very end, I would combine like terms. Now, I'm not going to actually distribute this because I think with all of it being letters, it gets a little confusing. Makes more sense when there are numbers in there. But that's what they want us to do. Let's give some of these a try then. All right, first I just want to set it up. Eventually we might get comfortable enough to just kind of use some arrows to help us out. But I want to follow those steps. So the first thing I need is the first term from my first binomial. What is it? X. And I'm going to multiply that to the second binomial, which is we're going to the sticks. Kelby, what's the second binomial? Binomial means how many terms? Kelby? Two terms. So the second binomial would be the second thing that has 2 terms. Or the second set of parentheses. What is it? X plus 3. Okay, so a single term is different from a binomial. A binomial is going to usually be in parentheses for us. First term from the first binomial multiplied to the whole second binomial. Then the next piece of that is to take the second term from the first binomial. Ryan, what's the second term from the first binomial? It's a positive 2, so I'm going to write plus 2. And I have to multiply that to the second binomial. Connie, what's the second binomial? We already named it. The second binomial is the second set of parentheses. So now let's actually multiply those out. We set it up. Now let's actually do it. So we have to distribute x into those parentheses. Kion, when I distribute that x, what do I get?
X squared.
X squared. What else? Plus 3x. Make sure you're using your signs. Then I have to distribute the positive 2 into the back. May, what do I get when I distribute 2? Positive 2x plus 6. Notice that every term gets a sign except the one in the very front. If it's positive, you don't have to put a plus in the very front. All those other terms got signs. X squared plus 3x plus 2x plus 6. Jamal Dixon, what's my last step? Combine the like terms. So what gets combined, Jamal? And what do I get from that? Careful. 5x, good. So the front stays the same. Is my 5x positive or negative? Positive, thank you. And then the 6 on the end plus 6 stays the same. Once again, my exponent in the middle did not change. All we're doing is combining like terms. We do not change that exponent. And there is my final answer. Okay, let's start that process over on number 2. I need to be able to identify the first term of my first binomial. Ellie, what is it? Very good. Then I have to multiply that to my second binomial. Nevaeh, what's my second binomial? 1. No, we're not ready for the 1 yet. The 1's part of the first binomial. I need the second binomial. Thank you for the assist, Jay Sean. A binomial has 2 terms. If I'm asking you for a binomial and you only give me 1 term, you're automatically wrong. Okay? Binomial, 2 terms. I then need the second term from the first binomial. Delaney, what's the second term in the front? The 1. So it's a positive 1, I'll put plus 1. I have to multiply that to the second binomial. Tariana, what is it? X plus 5. Now I actually have to multiply these out. I've got it set up. It's time to multiply. So I distribute the x. When I distribute the x, Deja, what do I get? What else? Plus 5x. Good. Then I have to distribute the 1. So positive 1. Jay Sean, when I distribute positive 1, what do I get?
Maybe 2.
Yes, we are on number 2. We're distributing 1.
Oh, 1x plus 5.
Very good. We would add 1x and add 5. You don't have to put the 1 in front of the x if you don't want to, but it might help some of you on the next step. Houston, what's my next step? Combine like terms. What gets combined, Houston? Well, the middle ones, they are both x's, so they are like terms. What do I get when I combine those, Houston? A positive 6x. The stuff in the front and the stuff in the back both stay the same. There is my final answer. Nothing else to combine. On number 3, they introduce negatives, but that does not change how we approach the problem. First thing we need to do is identify the first term from the first binomial. Jeriel, what's my first term from the front?
T.
T, good. I have to multiply that to the second binomial. Jamarl, what's the second binomial? T minus 3, very good. Then I need the second term from the first binomial. Lexi, what is it? A negative 2, very good. We have to keep the sign with it. Okay, if when it was positive, we put a plus sign. If we're subtracting, we treat it like a negative or put a minus sign. Keon, what is then the second binomial? T minus 3 again. All right. Next thing we do is, not yet, distribute. We set it up. Now we actually have to distribute. Deshaun, what do I get when I distribute T? T squared. What else? A negative 3T. Very good. All right, next we have to distribute this 2, but I need to treat it like a negative 2. So we are distributing a negative 2. Natalie, what does that give me? Yep.
It's going to be equal to negative 2t.
Mm-hmm. What else?
And then minus 6.
Careful.
Negative 6.
Negative times a negative is a
Positive.
positive 6. Good. Okay, so make sure you're watching your signs. If you see a minus sign, think of it as a negative. Now we're ready to do what? Combine like terms. Danielle, what terms are getting combined? Good. And when I combine those, what do I get, Danielle? Wonderful. They're both negative. So we combine them and it stays negative. What about all the other stuff? Stays the same. T squared stays the same, and the plus 6 stays the same. Can anything else be combined? Nope. So we are finished with number 3. All right, what's different about 4 from what we've seen so far? Which variable? The 2n. So now we've got a variable that has a coefficient other than 1. It's okay. It doesn't change how we're going to start this off. So we first start with the first term from the first binomial. Jakeem, what is it? N. Good. The first term from the front is n. We need to multiply that, Jalen, to what? 2n plus 5, my second binomial. Then I need the second term from the front. Franklin, what's that?
1.
The 1, good. So it's a positive 1, so we'll put plus 1. And I again multiply that to my second binomial. What's my second binomial? 2n plus 5. Next thing I need to do. Nobody knows where to go from here? Distribute. Nevaeh, when I distribute this n, what do I get? Good. 2n squared. What else?
Plus 5n.
Very good. And then I also have to distribute the 1 in the back. Keon, what do I get when I distribute a 1? Okay, a positive 2n plus 5. Next thing. Combine like terms. Which terms are alike? The 5n and the 2n. Lately it's been happening that our like terms are in the middle, and that happens that way frequently, but it doesn't always happen that way, so don't get too comfortable. Still look to see which terms are actually alike. Don't just assume it's going to be in the middle. Natalie, when I combine like terms, what do I get?
You get 7n.
Good, a positive 7n. Everything else stays the same. So 2n squared stays the same in the front, plus 5 stays the same in the back. What's different about 5 and 6? Natalie?
Different variables.
We've got different variables, and we have how many variables at a time? How many variables do we have in number 5? 2. We have 2 different variables at the same time. So we have to be able to deal with that. Our process doesn't change, so I still need the first term from the first binomial. Jamal, what is it? 3a, very good. I have to multiply that to the second binomial. Kion, what's the second binomial? 3a minus 4b, wonderful. Then I need the second term from the front. Ellie, what is it? Very good. Keep that sign with it. Negative 4b multiplied by the second binomial. Delaney? 3a minus 4b. Now it's kind of nice that these are exactly the same, so first binomial is the same as the second binomial. Next step, we have to distribute. So I'm going to distribute that 3a. 3a times 3a. So let's be careful. 3 times 3 is 9. A times a is... So we have 9a squared. Okay, then we have to take the 3a times the negative 4b. What's 3 times negative 4? Negative 12, so that's part of it. What about the a and the b? It becomes ab. None of the exponents change because they were not the same base. So negative 12ab. Then we go to the back. We have to distribute the negative 4b. Negative 4b times 3a. Negative 12ab again. Now, even though we were multiplying in a different order, it was the same multiplication we just did. A negative 4 with a 3a is the same multiplication as 3a with a negative 4b. So it makes sense that it's the same thing twice. Then we have negative 4b times negative 4b. Positive or negative? Positive. A negative times a negative is a positive. 16b squared. Questions about the distributing part? Okay. Next step. Combine your like terms. What terms are alike? Good. The 12 ABs in the middle, they're both negative. They are alike. Their variables match and their variables have the same exponents. When we combine those, what do we get? Negative 24AB. Remember, when we combine like terms, the variable part does not change. What about everything else? Stays the same. There were no other A squareds and there were no other B squareds. So those parts of the problem stay the same. And we have our final answer. On number 6, I need the first term from the first binomial. Jeriel, what is it? 6x. I have to multiply that by the second binomial. Ryan, what is that? Good, so that binomial is 3x minus y. I need the second term from the first binomial. Kelby? That's the second binomial. I need the second term from the front. Good. So the second term was the negative 2y. And then we reuse that same second binomial, which was the 3x minus y. Next, we have to distribute. 6x gets distributed first. Houston, what do I get when I distribute? You're right. 18x squared minus 6xy. Very good. Make sure you're watching those signs. Tariana, what do I get when I distribute the negative 2y? Negative 6xy, good. There was an x and a y there. And then what about in the very back? So a negative times a negative makes it positive. I agree with the 2. What's going to be the exponent on my y? Tariana? Squared. Yes, I agree. Are we okay with the distributing? Now we're moving on to the combining like terms. Deshaun, what can we combine? Good. The negative 6xy's can get combined in the middle here. What does that give us, Deshaun? Good. Negative 12xy. They're both negative. We combine and keep it negative. Everything else stays the same. 18x squared stays in the front. Positive 2y squared stays in the back. And we have our final answer. All right, go ahead and try those 4 problems at the bottom. If you have not already done so, go through all 4 of them. See what you're able to accomplish. We will talk about them in just a little bit. All right, anybody have an answer they want to give me for number 1 on the try these? Danielle? Minus 2y minus 48. I would agree with that answer. Do we have questions about that first one? I need a volunteer for the second one. Jay Sean? What? Yeah, we're forgetting the squareds. Where do the squareds go? 8a squared. What was your middle term? 40 plus or minus 42ab. Minus. Do we agree with that? And then what's on the end? Plus 54b squared. All right. Are we okay with that one? Lovely. Volunteers for the third one? Natalie? I think you're very close. What sign should we have on that 5x? Good. So we would end up with a positive 8x and a negative 3x. So overall, that would be a positive 5x. And then, yes, a minus 24 or negative 24 on the end. Questions about number 3? Kyan? No questions? Did you want to do the last one? Okay, Kyan, what's the last one? Plus 24b squared. Wonderful. Okay, then our homework is on pages 201 and 202, 2 through 26 evens. Make sure you're showing your work. Show your work, show your work. These ones, you cannot go straight to your answer.